all I knew was like, my bike won't ride, I have no heart left, and I love a terrorist. What is wrong with me? I don't love my husband, I love this terrorist. A month later, my marriage broke up.
הקדמה. Shunyata and Lisa. Ariel, welcome to the 5th quarter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know where it is?
It's somewhere between a few decimal points beyond 0 and before 10.
I haven't heard that before. Well, what's the origination of your name? Shunyata.
Shunyata in Sanskrit means emptiness.
Emptiness.
Yeah.
Wow, why a person will want to be called that? You know, like we thought about the other day, like why nobody is called Kohelet anymore? What's wrong with that name? It's a great name. Nobody called their kids Kohelet. And you go and call yourself Emptiness. Wow.
First, I didn't give myself this name.
Okay.
I have big
so
issues
who gave
with
you
names.
that name?
Well, it just my name, my shortage, my nickname became Shuni, and my first Tibetan master teacher was the Dalai Lama's translator. The minute you saw me, you told me, hey, you're Shuni Shunyata.
So let's start with that. Does you describe yourself as an interfaith researcher, in a way?
Could be throughout.
Does it say that you're also into Sufism, and Kabbalah?
But I never chose it, you know. It's like it was my life's
Buddhism?
destiny. It just, my spiritual journey led me throughout my life. Things just unfolded to meet great masters of all spiritual, traditions, and to see the beauty and the profundity in each one of them.
And Lisa, you said also you have a very interesting religious journey. How has that started and where is it right now?
It's in the 5th quarter.
Now it's in the 5th quarter. It's in the supernatural. And it started where?
It started in my heart. I
Yeah.
was having kind of a breakdown from life. I think like every good spiritual practitioner has to either wake up or go to sleep and say, I can't do this anymore. I can't stand it anymore.
Can't do what?
This life.
Which life?
The way this life is.
Which one of them?
Yeah, the 4th quarters.
The fourth quarters. Okay, the 4 religions.
The 4 quarters. Right? Yeah. You go through, you look at quarter 1, you look at 2, you look at 3 and 4, and it's like, okay, where do I fit in here? And it's like, I don't fit in here anywhere. So you try to make yourself fit into one of those quarters. All right, I'm going to try to be a really good Jew. Or I'm going to try to be a really good journalist. Or I'm going to try to be a really good...
Why it was so important for you to fit in one of the religions?
Yeah, I don't know. I think because when you're born in one of those quarters, you try to make your space there. You try to fit in.
Yeah.
We're so needing each other as human beings.
So you were born in Canada?
Yeah.
Where in Canada?
In Toronto, Ontario.
Toronto, I love Toronto.
And then I grew up near the Thousand
And you were born in Haifa?
Yes, unfortunately.
Beautiful. 2, cosmopolitan places that have a gorgeous mix of people that,
But like trying to drive yourself into an identity and into a belongingness.
In cosmopolitan cities, yeah.
When you're a child and when you're looking for your place within your own peoplehood, and if it's not nourishing enough, that ground, if the ground's not thick enough, you're always hitting bottom, you're always hitting concrete. So you start to drill down into the concrete, and once you do that, you don't know where you're going to end up in the world. I didn't end up in China. I ended up in this 5th quarter, like literally.
Interesting.
I ended up in Jerusalem.
And I travel the world a lot, and everywhere I go, it's kind of like takes a day to 2 weeks till I found the 5th quarter of that country. It's like,
you're lucky, that's quite fast.
No, yeah, I became a professional of finding it. I'm like, instead of asking people where you're from or what you do, I ask what's your superpowers. And then if they don't answer, I move on. And then out of 10, I find one person that is like, I love this question. Come with me, I'll show you the entrance to the 5th quarter.
It's amazing.
It's a good question.
The funny thing is I came here to try to find, my identity as a Jew, which is what I thought. I thought that was the limit, right? And then I ended up being swept back to Western Canada, where I met my spiritual master, my spiritual teacher, my friend. That's how Shuni and I met, because we realized our spiritual friends, elders, mentors, guides were really similar.
Yeah, mamash.
Really
What are your these are plant spirits or those guys that you are talking about?
They're both of them. I'll speak for both of us for a second.
All right.
Okay, and then that's
What we found about these friends we made, when I met him, he was 80 years old. He came from the Caucasus Mountains.
Where is that?
The Caucasus Mountains is in South Russia, north of Turkey,
Okay.
above the Black Sea.
Wow.
The particular country he came from was Abkhazia.
Abkhazia.
And the highest mountain range in the Urals, in the Eurasian mountains. And an ancient spiritual tradition was preserved there, in Russia, fifth quarter. Because of the topography, the high mountain.
When you say ancient, what?
Like
2,000, 3,000 years?
They say 26,000 years.
26,000 years.
Their tradition holds that Melchizedek
Uh-huh.
was the founder of their spiritual tradition.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They called him in their language Aubla, and that he trained many people and developed what they called the science of awakening latent human faculties under divine grace and guidance.
Mm.
And when Melchizedek heard a call, like me drilling in Toronto, right? When he heard a call, how many years ago? 6,000 years ago, is it?
Yeah.
From the person we now know as Avraham.
Mm-hmm.
He came down, heard someone drilling, and said, "How can I help you?" And they say about Melchizedek that he was actually Avraham's higher self.
And this 80 years old person, that his name is
Murat Yagan.
Murat Yagan. How you guys got to him?
Yeah, that was.
I mean, it was you or you?
No, she met
You
a
went
spiritual
to-
master.
No,
She'll tell
I've
you
been
about
with
him.
other Tibetan masters and the yogis of
Oh,
Tibet.
okay.
It's a
But the
different
energy
lineage.
was so similar.
Yeah.
What is interesting, is always not what's inside the fifth quarter, because that's subjective to every person. It's different. The door, the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
How a person that wants to go in there doing it, how you got in. Who opened for you the door?
I have to tell you, first, I don't think I really had a choice. It wasn't a conscious choice. I know from childhood I used to meditate and have very deep mystical experiences, and I always asked my parents to take me to the Himalayas and to Tzfat, because I have big kinship and connection with Tzfat, which is the city of Kabbalah, and the Himalayas. So just like most Israelis after the army, my first, trip was to India, of course. And I already knew deep inside, I feel I was guided from above. It was, how do you say, Ashgacha, divine, supreme providence that kept pushing me. I knew that I'm going to meet His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Tibetan masters of Tibet. And I remember when I was in India, because the Dalai Lama is in exile, the Tibetans are in exile because China conquered Tibet and did a mass, murder there. And unfortunately, they're all in exiles. When I've been there and also in Tibet, I felt I was coming back home, which for me confirmed the idea of, previous lives and reincarnation. It really felt like I lived there many past lifetimes.
In Tibet.
Yeah, and some of my Tibetan masters also told me, they recognized me. They knew who I was from past life. When you're more in state of silence and meditation, and you connect more inwardly, instead of all the time outside, as our society keeps teaching us, things will unfold and manifest, and many times it will not be an intellectual knowledge, it will be a deep, profound knowledge that comes from the core of your being. It's not like somebody told me, I just felt it. And I remember I was always crying when I left the place because I felt I was leaving my homeland. And strangely enough, now I'm connecting back with Israel also as my homeland, and it's the first time I'm really happy to be back here.
I want to stop on when you said many streams says that we are like in the most degenerated time and low conscious. Don't you think, from the intentional level, that because we say it, we are there? And because if everybody will tell you are degenerate, you're dumb, you're degenerate, it's the most dumb year of your life. You will just feel, okay, let's just be dumb. What dumb people do? They go to the bar, they drink, let's do that.
But that's what you did last night.
So I'm like, maybe we should come from the intentional source Mm-hmm.
I wanna talk about the port of entry.
Port of entry.
Can I?
Sure.
Okay. Because when you asked how do we meet these people,
How do we get you get into the fifth quarter?
Right. So Shuni knew when she was a child. She already had. She was in touch with her awakened state. I wasn't. As I said, I was really looking within Judaism, normative, regular, wanting to be a regular person kind of Jew, and it kept not working for me, and eventually I became a journalist, and I was reporting here during the very volatile suicide bombing time inside Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And I was at every suicide bombing, covering it as a journalist. And there was one particular one that happened. It was December the 25th, 1994. And my building I was living in at the time shook. Early, and it was like 7 in the morning. And I got on my bike and rode to the central bus station. I could feel where it was coming from. And I saw there a young man had tried to blow up a bus. And I got there so quick. I got there before anyone else got there, and he was lying down on the ground. A Palestinian, turns out from Gaza. And
he was trying
to blow up a bus.
He was trying to blow the bus. You saw the terrorist before he became a terrorist.
No, I saw the bus blown up, and I saw him on the ground.
Oh, after he blown up the bus.
After he blown the bus.
Yeah, I got there before before everyone got there.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got there, then everyone came.
Yeah.
And so I started, I went right into my job interviewing people, interviewing the bystanders and the witnesses and the police when they got there, and Mada, interviewing everybody. And then, usually, what I would do at the dozens, unfortunately, of suicide bombings I was at, after I did my work, I would think, okay, I don't want to be a cold journalist. I want to feel. So I would stand there and think to myself, okay, I want to fill myself with hatred for the person that did this. That was the
intention you filled yourself with.
That was my intention, because I was in my fourth quarter. I was in my quarter, and how can you do this to my people? How can you do this? How can you do this to my people? And I would be so angry, fill myself with hate, and I thought, this is how I can be a better person and remember my humanity. And this particular day, it was Christmas Day, right?
Christmas.
It didn't work. I left the scene. I got on my bike to ride home. I tried to fill myself with hate. It didn't work. I thought, oh my God, what's happening to me? I'm becoming a non-person, a non-feeling person. I don't care about anything, just a cold journalist, right? And then I thought, oh, wow, and I put my foot on the bike, and I tried to move the pedal. Nothing moved.
You were frozen.
Frozen. I tried again. Nothing. I tried a third time. Nothing. I stood straddled on the bike. I said, what's going on here? I really asked it. And then my body filled with this unbelievable light. And I felt nothing but love for that man lying down on the ground. Who tried, right? I was in shock. I was in weird shock, right? Like absolute.
You were able to stand out of the duality into the point of seeing the big picture.
I didn't know that at the time. All I knew was my bike won't ride, I have no heart left, and I love a terrorist. What is wrong with me? I don't love my husband, I love this terrorist. A month later, my marriage broke up, and anyways, that's jumping ahead. But at that second, what is going on here? And what was going on here was, the only word I had for it at the time, I didn't even know the word love, was this feels like Ne'ilah at Yom Kippur. That whole
your
feeling.
Forgiveness and
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that. The only word I had was, wow, this feels holy. And then I was kind of freaked out. How can it be holy? I'm supposed to be hating him.
Wow.
Right? And then I was kind of grossed out by myself, but also amazed at the same time. Like it was the duality between touching the fifth quarter, and like I'm still in the fourth. What's going on?
Like you were amazed that you were able to actually achieve such level of gratitude and love to the world, whatever
I
it is.
didn't even know what it was at the time.
Yeah.
I actually thought
Beautiful.
that I was really weird. Now I see it as beautiful, but then, because of the way the religion had formed me,
Mhm.
thought it was wrong to forgive and love people that had done things that are wrong.
And you want to create the All Nation Cafe.
That came later.
That came later. However,
came-
it's like coming
That's when
directly
it-
from.
That's when it happened. As soon as I felt that holiness,
Mm-hmm.
and my feet were straddled on the bike, on the ground, I lifted up my right leg and put it on the pedal, and it went. And I rode home. So it was really like, this life has stopped. Something new is coming in, ride. I rode home, and I wrote up the story, knowing that it wasn't the real story. I wrote up the way that the newspaper taught me to write up the story. I interviewed, what does the police have to say about it? What does a witness have to say about it? Not what really happened there. What really, and I was like, what? So this is December, right? What really happened there, so like it's now December, the clock went around, divorce happened, Pesach. I ended up in Canada at the doorstep of this sheikh, of this spiritual guy, of this
Mm-hmm.
Sufi master.
also Sufi master, also master of the Kebza from the Caucasus. And the first thing I told him when I met him was this story. I didn't tell
wow.
anybody because I thought I was really off my bicycle.
Mhm.
And I told him the story, and he sat down and he said, he said, you see this guy, he, maybe his brother, maybe his favorite cousin or his uncle, maybe one of them was killed by an Israeli, by a soldier.
Speak louder, yeah.
And maybe one of his favorite relatives was killed by an Israeli, by a soldier. And he was living his life in rage and in anger. And he said that's the system, that's the structural violence of the system is like this. We need one community to be full of rage, so they'll keep doing these things.
Mhm.
But this particular person was living in chains of rage and anger. And that day, when his body, his physical body existence ended, he said his eternal soul left that body, and for the first time in his life, he got to taste the feeling of freedom. Freedom from hatred, freedom from rage, freedom from resentment and anger. And it was this explosion of beauty, and he said, and that soul met you in that moment, traveled through you, and you got to taste it too. And from that moment on, I'll call it everything connected. Everything. That's when the All Nations Cafe started. Because then I got it. I understood. Oh, wow. Right? That this life is one continuity from before we're born, through our life, and after our life. And we meet in the middle in this very finite exchange. So how can we make this finite exchange a little more beautiful? How can we drop in that elixir of eternal love, of freedom, true freedom, joy, and knowing that we're brothers? Since then, I can't hate any political crime. I don't. Opposite.
So since then you're beyond politics.
Yeah, I jumped out.
So it's possible to be beyond politics.
Totally. It's through this deep love.
I see in both of the stories
Yeah.
one similar thing,
Okay.
which is collision of multicultural interfaith collision that kind of like create that fire, right?
Exactly. Especially in
Cheers.
Jerusalem.
It was such a great pleasure.